No,
I
it's
don't
yours.
really even know.
Are you mic'd up? Hey, we're on. What just fell down? Welcome back to the Grit Gym Show, the Rachel and Adam Show. Happy that you're here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about perspectives and how they can differ immensely from person to person, and also how it's completely okay to disagree and that it's actually a good thing because you can seek understanding and completely disagree. You can completely understand and 100% disagree with the other person and still have a conversation, which I think is very much lost in our world today. And I don't know if that's totally a me just like getting older and being like, how do I say this? Like doing the whole kids these days thing, or if it's just a sign of the times and the polarity of our world right now. But anyway, it's your topic. You said this is my topic. This is your topic.
Mine? What are
Yeah,
you
your
talking
topic.
about?
You came up with this.
I did not come up with this.
No? Did I come up with this?
Yeah.
Okay, then I came up with this. My topic. I'm glad you're here. Please like, comment, share. We're going to get into the show. I'm wearing one of our new shirts, Lift Like a Real Man. If you have a real man in your life, make sure to get him one of these shirts. We also have Lift Like a Mom, Lift Like a Girl, product of a strong female over at the store, gritgym.com. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. And if you are, before we get into it, if you are watching this show live, please do hashtag Team Live. If you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, do hashtag Team Replay.
What does that do?
It'll show like if it just lets them show support. Like if like, hey, we're here because we can't see everybody that's live.
Oh, okay.
And we definitely don't know all the people that are watching it afterwards. So this just gives them a chance to be like, hey, we were here, and then we can respond to them later. But
okay.
Anyway, so what do you got on the idea? Well, what even brought this up? How did we get to this? It was my idea.
Yeah.
Oh, it was because of the book that you're reading right now.
Oh, yeah.
What are you reading?
So I'm halfway through this massive book that's probably about that big.
Yeah.
Like, not even kidding.
This chair is loud today.
It's taken me
Not even kidding.
about
it's
3
like,
weeks to get halfway through. And that's reading every day.
I think that's
for a while.
I think that's faster than I made it through. That book took me months.
Yeah. Well, I did, half of it was done audio, but it's Atlas Shrugged, and it's kind of a controversial book.
Why has it been controversial? Like I never knew that it was a controversial book. I just read it, and I read it a long time ago because I really wanted to put I was looking at different lists of like top 50 books to read. You know, what are the top 50 books, the top 100 books, or whatever it is. And Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead kept on popping up in all these lists. So I was like, all right, well, I'll read Atlas Shrugged. And I had no idea that there was any political affiliation with any of it. It was just a book. But I was like, whether I agreed or disagreed, and there was certain things on both sides. I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was
nonfiction, so it's not like based off of.
You mean fiction?
Oh wait, yeah, it is. It's fiction. It's fiction.
Yeah, it's totally fiction.
It's fiction book that it does have like pretty soon into the book I could tell what direction it was going, and I could see like this is what it was going towards. It's basically just giving a point of view of both sides. When you read a book, they tend to describe what somebody's feeling very well.
Yeah.
So you can put yourself into many different characters. So you're basically seeing somebody's viewpoints from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think the ability to do that and see other people's perspectives and be open to conversation, even though they have something that you don't agree with, is a great quality to have, because without the ability to open your mind and kind of be willing to gain a further opinion on a subject, it's the way that we communicate. If you can't communicate with many different types of people, then you're kind of missing out on...
Yeah, you're missing out on the relationship, right? Like, How are you ever going to get to know somebody if you don't ask them questions?
I think that your opinions about certain things should always change. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, having a conversation with someone that has the opposite view of you, they can give you like 100 different reasons why they think that, and maybe you only take like one or two, and you kind of like form your opinion in a different way. It's like, oh, okay, I can see that. Like when you're having a conversation with someone, I mean, there's many times where you and I have a conversation and we see completely opposite, and by the end, we've kind of formed new understandings. Maybe opinion is the wrong word, but a new understanding of how you see that situation. It's like when you watch a movie and you get to know that character, you might not completely agree with that character, but you can see it from their perspective so well. You can see their feelings, their emotions. You see where they've come from and why they act that way. And I think that is a stronger way to form your opinion.
I think that there's a distinction here, though, because like you're talking about understanding, and I think there's a big difference between, like, I think people wrap up understanding with agreement. It's like, well, if I understand where you're coming from, then I have to agree with it.
No, you don't have to agree.
I think those are very separate deals. Like a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about are like Rachel's in the process of basically exploring business options right now, and a lot of the stuff that she's doing is like, yeah, I've been there. I know what that's like, and I understand what she's talking about. But when she's on a really bad idea that's going to go to a not positive place, it's like, you got to knock that off. And she's like, but I and it's really hard for me to like let her make her own mistakes. But at the same time, if I don't tell her those things, if I don't share my experience and try to help her understand that I was there too, so that she can wrap her head around a new idea, then I was not doing my part in our relationship, and I wasn't being of service to her. But that doesn't mean that she has to necessarily agree with it in the end.
No.
As long as she understands what the point, then she can formulate her own thoughts.
Yeah. I can decide if I want to do it further on or not.
Yeah. Not always easy.
No, and that's a good thing too. It's like we both want the same outcome. We want it to, but we are not.
I think
on
everybody
the
wants
same
the same
page.
outcome. I think like even if you look at like right now our country is extremely divided on gun control, right?
Yeah.
Except that
we're both fighting for the same thing.
However, everybody wants our kids to be safe. Everybody wants the kids to be safe. Everybody's going for the same thing. Mm-hmm. But their medium for that same thing are apparently just clashing. But can we go into a little bit of our background?
Okay.
This was what I was thinking. Like,
background?
We don't actually go over what we're going to talk about before we do it. We get a topic, and then we separate. We make little notes, and then we come back and we discuss them here. So like your background versus my background, almost polar opposites in many different ways, right? So you come from a home, single mom, non-religious home. Grew up a very, very liberal. I think I'm guessing here. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So non-religious, very liberal, single mom.
I wouldn't say very liberal at all.
No? Okay. Anyway, so you're going to go conservative?
I didn't say that either. You're just making it sound like I'm super liberal.
Not you, the home that you grew up in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then I grew up in a home that was more conservative, very religious. Mom and dad had very structured. We had dinner every night. Had to be there. It wasn't negotiable. And I think like for us to have certain discussions, it's like, or us to live in the same house it's like we have very different ways of doing things.
Yeah. But at the same time, we've learned from each other.
Yeah.
That certain things have a time and place.
Yeah.
I don't know, many discussions that we've had.
Yeah, and I don't think that either of us, like when I said liberal or conservative, like I'm not, like I kind of tend to understand the conservative side of the situation. I'm like, okay, I can see that, and the liberal side, I'm like, I can see that, but this and this and that. Like I question things a lot, so I think you do too. And so we both kind of like played back and forth. But if we had the tendency, I think you would go more towards left and I would go more towards right.
Well, and I think the whole point is to not stay on your side and only talk
100%.
to the people that agree with you.
That's what I was getting at right there.
Yeah.
It was like you're reading a book right now, Atlas Shrugged, which would tend to go more towards the right. It's like like it's one of the few books written where the business owner is actually the hero and not the villain, and where it's like your duty to be successful and that you should be successful, because if you're successful, then everybody else around you is better off.
Yeah.
As you get into it, I think you'll. Yeah. But there are some things in that book, like they make the evil people super, super evil, and there's just a little bit to it. Like in real life, it's not so polar. But this book still is really good. But like from a responsibility standpoint, like you grew up like we both kind of grew up on our own. But I kind of grew up like not in a bad way. This is very good, but like everything was my fault. Everything, like if you had the power. Somehow you were like, I was told that you have the power to make other people mad, and now I look back and I'm like, I don't know if that's accurate. And I don't want it to be accurate. I think it's 100-100. Like I did an Instagram post on that today.
Why?
Like we were talking about this the other day, and you were having like such a difficult time with me. You were just like, I'm so sick of you right now. And I was like, oh, I'm so sick of you right now. But we were trying to come to the idea of 100-100, that it's not, I don't take 50% of the responsibility of this relationship. I take 100% of the responsibility of this relationship, and you take 100% of the responsibility of this relationship. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, when you were saying it, like, take 100% of the rest, how do you say it? How do you say
100-100?
No, the way you used to say it. Like, take 100% of the responsibility for... I take
100% of the responsibility for all my thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors, and you take 100% responsibility for all your thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
When you said it that way, it doesn't really resonate with me. It didn't. But when you said, like... When you made it seem like, okay, so 100% of what you did is on you, and 100% of what I feel is on me.
Yeah.
It kind of made it
my
both
thoughts,
our
feelings,
responsibility at the same time. It wasn't like you or you.
Yeah.
It was both of us at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So I was able to understand it a little better.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to get to was clarity, and that's something that's really been. I think it's a tough time for everybody, but it's especially like it's really been a difficult thing.
Well,
for us.
It becomes frustrating when it takes a lot of time, and it's just like, what are we even talking about right now? When you're in a conversation with somebody, it's easy for it to escalate to someone getting mad, someone getting their feelings hurt, and then you just like not getting to the clarity of it. But when you take the time, and like it might take 2 hours, but at the end, if you figure out what the problem is and you both come to like a conclusion, agreement, kind of understanding, then it makes much more sense for all the other bumps in the road.
Well, just assumptions are just assumptions and ambiguity and just like being vague. Like it's just so,
awful to
it's just like
make assumptions around you because you just hate assumptions.
Well, they just get in the way of everything. Like even before I go, before we started the show, I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back. And you said coffee. And I go, yeah, that'd be great.
I didn't hear you say, yeah, that'd be great.
All right, but...
He was saying he was leaving and going to the bathroom, and I was like, oh, and coffee? And so he thought that I was saying, do you want some coffee? And I thought I was asking him to go grab some coffee.
And that's such a simple, silly, nothing of a thing, right?
It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, but it's everything.
But it's everything. Like that's...
Now we both don't have coffee.
Now we both don't have coffee.
We were just like... There was only a minute period where we could have gone and got coffee, and we just both assumed at that exact same time. We didn't clarify.
Yeah. And this is a little tiny thing. It's coffee. That is not a big deal.
That's an example.
Right? However, what about when you're like talking about something serious? What about when you're talking about something complicated? We did this with gifts, right? You like gifts. I don't like getting gifts.
Yeah.
You know? Eventually, I don't like giving gifts. Because I don't like getting gifts. You know, like this whole thing. Like, let's get clear on this. Like for one, why don't you like getting gifts? That's a little silly.
Yeah, get to the bottom of that and figure out.
Yeah, but if you're not clear on whose job is what, who's going to pick up the kids? Well, we both went to pick up the kids. God damn it, we just wasted all this time and gas and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that? And we don't even have kids, but like it gets complicated really quick when you're not super outrageously clear on. And if you're not going to be clear on the little things, how are you going to be clear on the big things?
You can't really.
It's pretty tough anyway. But to go back to how we grew up, so so our homes were just very different growing up. Like 10 years, like if you're grabbing Rachel at 10 years old and Adam at 10 years old, very different. My family, work is everything. Not just a little bit. Work is everything. It would be better to be busy doing nothing, like busy being busy, producing nothing. As long as you were busy, as long as you were working, at least you were doing something. Than to be doing nothing. It didn't matter if you were happy or not. Rachel's house, happy is the most important thing. Like my house, in my house, it was like happy is a byproduct of the work that you did produce. Yeah, so very different. Like, are either of those wrong? No, they're different perspectives. They're different ways of doing it.
So it wasn't even about working hard and working smart. It was just like
work your ass off. Work your ass off. Just do whatever it takes.
No matter what.
Yeah, go. Yeah, I'm gonna walk hard. But my house, responsibility was a different deal. Responsibility basically meant guilt. The very Catholic guilt. Like, how could you do that to your sibling? Well, for one, they were beating the hell out of me, so that could have been part of it.
That's
and interesting thing in your house is like you guys are much more towards like, well, what do you mean? That's their problem. Like, that sounded bad. Like, why would I have anything to do with making sure that they feel welcome here, or
why is that my responsibility?
Yeah, why would that be my responsibility? And that would just like there's certain things that have happened around your family where I'm just like, wow, that was so different in the Reese household.
Yeah.
But it's just something that it's really good to learn from. I don't think either way is wrong.
So what about like when you walk into a bar and the rules are no talk about politics or religion or...
I don't even get that. Don't talk about money, politics, or religion. I'm like, but those are my favorite things. Like, I'm too curious to not know your position on politics, and I'm not going to get pissed off when you don't agree with me.
Well,
and
see, that's the thing. I think maybe the combination of drinking and random people in a tight space talking about the things that they don't want to open their mind up to, it creates... That's why
I say curiosity.
I saw it all the time. It would happen all the time.
When you worked at the bar.
I'd be like, the second it turned to being like nasty or pointing fingers or... I
don't get that. Like,
yeah, I would shut it down. I'd let it happen, but...
I don't understand why you would bring emotion into a logical discussion.
That's the thing. People bring emotion, and the conversation has to end right there. Because that person is not learning. That person is just giving in to their emotion. If they're getting emotional about it, they are not open-minded.
Can we go down that road of why not talk about these three things? Because I like talking about money. I think money's kind of an interesting topic. I think religion is a very interesting topic. I like theology. I've read many books on atheism, Buddhism, Taoism, Jainism. You basically throw it out there, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I've looked through that stuff. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
I really like thinking about and analyzing these different ways of viewing the world. I think politics is kind of annoying, but it's interesting at least. Like, it's interesting to hear how many different perspectives people can have.
When I was researching coffee, like the origins of coffee, a lot of the first coffee shops were called like mini schools of thought because they would just sit and have coffee and they would talk about politics and religion and money and all that, and they just have discussions that would grow and grow and grow, and people would bounce ideas off of each other. And I think in that setting, you're kind of just like feeding off of the energy of learning more and gaining a better perspective.
That's why I say like I think that curiosity is the most attacked word in our world today, and it's done completely by the status quo to say no, don't be curious, don't Don't step outside of the wheelhouse.
Saying, don't be curious.
I think it's sneaky.
They're taking it as something else.
Right. It's like, don't think different than
word.
me is the same thing as don't be curious.
But also,
don't
being biased toward anything.
We're all going to be biased, though.
I know, okay, but using that as your argument, like, this is how, like, not being willing to look at a different perspective, like, I don't know.
Well, explain. I think
people will argue their point to the death. Like, they'll throw out misinformation, facts that don't make sense, just so that they can. It's like their pride and joy, or they're afraid that if they're not right in that moment, then they can't be a contributor to the conversation.
Whoa. If you get into the argument stuff, then you're getting into right and wrong. I'm right, you're wrong.
That's what I'm saying. They're thinking of it as a right and a wrong.
And I don't know why it has to go to a right and a wrong. When I want to make it a discussion where it's like, I'm going to do my absolute best to understand your perspective, your point of view, and then I will try to explain my perspective as best I can so that you can do your best to understand my perspective, my point of view. That's a discussion when you're trying to understand each other, when you're freely sharing back and forth. I don't want to make it no, you're wrong, dumbass. Like, how could you even think like that? Like, who are you,
Well, do you remember, like, when you were little, the biggest thing that you would always hear, like, well, my dad said that. Did you ever hear that? If you were ever, like, whether you thought it was real or not, when we were little, we thought that our parents were, they knew everything.
Yeah.
So you were willing to fight for that.
I forget what it is.
If you were wrong, then it was like, oh, no, your dad's wrong.
Well, that's the loyalty to what you do know.
Yeah, but that's like...
But we still have
that's
that.
That's like the beginning of it. It's just like... Yeah. That's the to us it was like, oh, but you're telling me my dad is not right. My dad is always right.
You're talking about some deep psychological stuff there. Like,
exactly.
we have a root loyalty to what we know. We have a root loyalty to the people that we care about, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that the interesting thing about this whole topic that we're talking about right now is that the absence of the idea that you can be loyal to, like, I can be loyal to you and completely disagree with everything about how you think, act, and behave.
Yeah.
I can still be loyal to you.
Yeah.
Just because I might disagree doesn't mean that I'm not loyal to you, right? Mm-hmm. And also, like, why be loyal to an old way of thinking? Does it serve you? Like, that's a real question. I'm not saying to not be loyal to the thing that, but, like, ask yourself, does it serve me to think this way?
No.
Like, if I thought the same way as my dad about politics and business and money and relationships, I would be in the exact same place my dad is, which isn't bad. Like, there's certain things that he does that I think that are very much serving him. But if I hadn't learned things along the way that are different than him, I don't...
They're not true to you, though. You're making that truth based on him. Mm-hmm. Like, so unless you walked in his footsteps and did everything he did, you can't really say that that's your truth. You're basing it off of somebody else.
Yeah. And so, like, when you're 8 years old or whatever...
thingy.
I don't... My thingy?
Thingy.
I don't remember when it is, but there's a time... if you even think about it logically, like... but psychologically, up until I think it's like 7 or 8 years old, we think that our parents they know everything that there is in the universe. And why wouldn't we?
That's what I'm saying.
We've learned everything from them. Why wouldn't we think that they know everything?
Yeah,
and then we start figuring out, oh, my teacher knows something that they don't. Oh, this book knows something that they don't. Oh, this knows something. And then we go out and into the world and we're like, oh, my parents did the best they could, but they don't know everything. Now I'm learning.
Yeah.
It's just natural for a little kid to do that.
Well, I mean, in English, in like around 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that's when they start to show you like how to form an argument. Like, not an argument, but like if you're writing a paper, to have a well-formed idea, thought, paper, you have to have an opposing viewpoint, and you have to be able to dissect that and still understand it, but dissect it to give credibility to your viewpoint.
Yeah, no, and I think what you're talking about there is clarity, and we can go back just a second to clarity and how important it is because of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
We've interchanged the word argument with discussion multiple times.
I know.
You know what I mean? And that's just lack of clarity. Are we talking about a discussion or are we talking about an argument?
Did I correct myself?
Yeah, I think a couple times, but I think I did it too. So I'm saying like we haven't made it just outrageously clear. We are talking about a discussion or are we talking about an argument? So in an argument,
discussions turn into arguments. And I think, sometimes.
Like, how are you defining discussion, and how are you defining argument? To me, an argument is a win-lose. Mm-hmm. Either I'm going like I'm right and you're wrong, and either I'm going to win.
In a punch.
It's one of like either I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, and we're trying to win. One of us is trying to win.
One's a winner, one's a loser.
But if you do that in a cooperative relationship, the relationship lost, so everybody loses, right?
Yeah.
And so I think like one of the things in a disagreement is that you have to get very, very clear. What are we doing? Are we arguing or are we discussing?
So is argument the same thing as debate?
I think an argument and debate is fairly similar, yes.
Okay.
Like in a debate, there's a winner and a loser. Obvious winner and loser. There's no doubt about it.
Like the point is to figure out who wins in that argument.
Yeah.
They might not be right, but if they have a better argument, then...
I haven't looked up the definition of debate in a long time, but I think getting very, very clear with the words that you do use is important. If you just go around and be like, you can't use that as an argument. Well, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm trying to have a discussion with you. I'm not trying to prove that you're wrong. I'm trying to have a discussion with you. I want to know what you know. I mean, like with me, you're almost guaranteed if I ask you a question, it's because I want to have a discussion. I want to know what you know. How can I learn if I don't know what you know?
You're curious to the idea that something else is out there that you haven't really wrapped your head around.
Yeah, I can't even tell you, like, the intrinsic desire I have to know is insane. I want to know everything. I want to know about her. I want to know about the world. I want to know about you. I want to know everything. I am so curious that it's insane. It drives me nuts. Like all I want to do is like question. And this is why I say that curiosity is under attack. Partly because your phone died. Partly I say that because I can't. Like it used to be, I just ask a question, and sometimes people would get offended, and sometimes people wouldn't. It was like 10% offended, 90% they were just answer the question. Now you ask a question, and people think that you're challenging them. Like, I'm not challenging you. I'm asking a question.
So what are some other books that are somewhat controversial too?
I think Slaughterhouse-Five sounds like it's like Kirk Vonnegut. I think that's how you pronounce it. Is it Vonnegut?
I don't know.
Varga? Anyway, I'm blanking on, I'm second guessing how to pronounce his last name right now and how it's spelled. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that his stuff is fairly controversial, but Atlas Shrugged is really controversial for some reason. I had no idea probably until the last 5 years, and people started talking about it online. I can see how it is.
It's basically like, I don't know.
She shook up the status quo, though. Ayn Rand is a really interesting person, whether you agree or disagree with her.
You can look her up on YouTube, and
she found a way
break it down
to get her voice out when women didn't have the opportunity to put their voice out the way that she did.
Yeah, when was
people
that?
burned her books. People protested her books. People protested her. She's an immigrant from another country. Like she was from Russia. She did not speak English as her primary language. She's a very, very interesting woman. Whether you agree or disagree with her, I think that she's worth reading.
Yeah, she'd be a very interesting person to have a conversation with. That's for sure.
Yeah. She introduced this idea of being objective. I mean, that was already out there, but objectivism. And I think it's kind of hard to argue with objectivism, to like be like, let's look at a situation and try to find different perspectives on this so that we can get down to the reality of the situation. You know, she really challenged the status quo. She said that there's a difference between being selfless and selfish, and being selfish isn't always bad.
Yeah.
There's always this receive and accept along with giving going on in all your relationships. And if you gave away yourself all the time, if you put yourself in last place always, because you're putting everybody else in front of you, then you're always going to be in last place. It kind of, at some point, that kind of just sucks.
Mm-hmm. It's
anyway.
a lose-lose.
I kind of went on and on there for a little bit, but I think she has some interesting perspectives that we can learn from. I didn't read the book with like, I read the book with like, I want to learn from this and build my perspectives based on what she's saying. I didn't read the book with like, nope, that's wrong. That's bullshit. You can't ever be selfish ever. It's like,
well, it's kind of like if you have a routine and you do the same thing every single day and the same bad thing happens at the end of the day, it's like clearly if you have that routine, there's something wrong. You need to break a pattern. You need to break a pattern in how you see things to change your mindset.
Yeah.
Because if there's, well, it's like the, what do you call it? The mad scientist thing that Tai Lopez uses. He's like, if you're not getting the result you want, you try a new experiment.
Yeah.
Experiment over and over again until you get the result you want.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly just doing the same thing and surrounding yourself with the same people, having the same conversations, that's not going to change. I mean, it's going to be really hard to change. You might need to like read different books and watch different television shows. I don't know. Just change it up to gain a different perspective other than yours. It doesn't have to be something
I don't even know if it needs to, like a different understanding, a different, just to change something. Like you said this morning, have you ever read a book that was went completely in opposition to all your beliefs? I'm like, yeah, I've read a lot of them.
And you said it was hard.
They were hard. They're difficult to read because you're challenging stuff upstairs. And it's hard to not sit there and argue with it, but to try to learn from it. Like, what are they trying to say?
Well, that's a thing with books, too. You can't just, like, sit there and be like, no. Like, you don't have that opportunity. It's just only this person's voice, and you are only taking in what they have to say.
Well, I think you can read a book in two different ways. You can either read it to argue with it. I wasted so much time doing that. Or you can read it to understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the better way.
Yeah, I personally do, too.
It sounds a lot less stressful.
It is. It is.
Because, I mean, what's the point in that?
Yeah.
Why would you be reading it in the first place if you just want to argue with it? You know what I mean?
Because people love to argue. Like, I like getting in discussions. I don't really like arguments. Amber sometimes thinks that I'm just like picking fights, and I'm not picking fights. I want to know. Like when you say, don't talk about politics, money, or religion, I'm like, but I want to talk about those things. I want to know what you know. I want to hear your perspectives. I want to. That's fun to me. But to sit there and bitch back and forth about this, that, or the other, you know, like doing either the fuck Trump, fuck Hillary, like I don't care. I'm out. Like I just don't care. Like, that's not what I want to get in the discussion for. If you want to have a logical discussion on why you think certain things about either of those people's actions might not have been best and what your solution is to be better, that's a discussion I'd be willing to pursue.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
This is about to go off.
It is about to go off. But I do think like clarity is a huge thing. Don't let it go off, please.
Oh, I thought I could grab it before it did it.
But I think clarity is enormous. I don't know if there's any bigger thing in a relationship. I put clarity above love. I think like how are you going to how are you going to relate to this person if you can't be clear back and forth? How are you going to cohabitate with this person if you can't get clear back and forth? Like I don't care how much like you see it all the time. People fall in love, they get married, and then they get a divorce. Why'd they get a divorce? Probably because they couldn't get along. Why couldn't they get along? Probably because they didn't get clear on stuff.
Yeah, they didn't figure it out beforehand.
Was love all they needed? They didn't even get clear on the word love. Probably. What's love mean to you?
I think that's for another topic.
Exactly. But like getting very clear on the word love, what's it mean? Love sex? Is it a presence? Is it a sharing? Is it a bond? Is it a friendship? What is it? You know? Anyway, I think clarity is a big deal. Are you arguing or are you discussing? Did we get through any of your notes? I think we got through a couple of mine.
Yeah, we got through a couple of mine.
Good.
Yeah.
You gonna close us out?
Yeah. What is it? Like, share,
You just do whatever you want.
comment, slap the share button. Is that how you say it?
I have no idea what I say at the end of these things.
You
I just
usually
kind of
say
close us
kind
out.
of, yeah. The more you guys share this out.
Yeah, like I don't have this scripted or
I know
anything.
you
It's
don't,
not like
but
I
you're putting me
have
on the
this.
spot.
Okay, this is funny because I put her on the spot every week, don't I? At the end of this,
Yeah.
I'm like, "You want to close this out?" And she's like, "I don't have this scripted. I have nothing scripted. I just kind of like say goodbye, basically."
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Do you have anybody tomorrow?
For an interview.
Yeah.
What's tomorrow? Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
I don't remember if I have someone tomorrow or not, but I do know that we have some huge people coming up. I mean, like monsters in the health space. We have Stuart McGill coming up, and we have Don Saldino, and we have Coach Karen. Who else do we have? We have some like monsters in the fitness industry, and it's yeah.
and you guys are going
The
to
guy that trained Deadpool, the guy that put what's her name, the
her name?
pretty girl from the Avengers movies, the one that doesn't have any powers,
I don't know those
starts
movies.
with an S. Scarlett Johansson, the
Oh,
guy
okay.
that trains Scarlett Johansson, the guy that trains all these celebrities. He's going to be on pretty soon. We got a lot of big
That'd be
people.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting.
And then you
Stuart
guys
McGill
are
is the top. Like he has no competition up here. I mean, he is the top researcher on spines in the world. I mean,
that gets
like
you pretty excited.
yeah, he is like on top of the top of the top of the top of people when it comes to research on the spine. He knows more than everybody. We'll have him on the show.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you guys are going to perform better this weekend.
And we're going to perform better this weekend to learn for our noggins.
Is it just like a health and wellness, or is it just
No, it's
trainers
It's
kind of thing?
all strength and conditioning. It's corrective exercise, strength and conditioning, physical therapy. I've never seen any nutrition person there.
Maybe they should.
Maybe they should.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good. A lot of physical therapists, a lot of strength and conditioning coaches, a lot of power lifters, stuff like that.
Cool.
There will always be, undoubtedly, there will be someone there with a gallon of water, and I always kind of chuckle at those guys.
Wait, remember when we saw that guy with that Culligan thing?
He was carrying that around?
He was carrying a Culligan
When was this?
thing of water. I think it was at one of the conferences that we
It
had.
was in Kansas City, wasn't it?
Maybe it was Kansas
Yeah.
City. I don't know.
That was a bro fest.
Yeah.
That was the biggest bro fest I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, that's the only
That
that's the only like fitness one that I went to with you, and that was a lot of
That is-
beefcakes.
I'm the beefcake.
Here's a beefcake.
All right, close us out. I almost hit your thigh,
Oh,
but
no.
I won't because
Yeah.
she's sunburned. Anyway,
I'm so sunburned. All right, so comment, like, share, and then send this out to everybody so that we can get more people to have conversations with and more perspectives.
Yeah.
Leave a question if you have it. Maybe some topics that you guys might want to discuss. We're open to anything. So, bye.
no look. That's right. See you guys next week.